The president is slamming the process because if you get a parking ticket, Sandra, you have more due process rights than it seems the president of the United States has right now when it comes to the early parts of this investigation. Open it up. Where's the due process? Where's the right to present witnesses, to cross-examine witnesses, to present evidence?
Is it fair for Republicans and the president, in the case of that tweet he sent out, be demanding this?
Well, my feeling is that, you know, if you are having trouble with the facts, you argue process, and that's what Republicans are doing right now. The Democrats have gotten some very damaging information from people like William Taylor, the acting U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Fiona Hill, who used to be one of the top advisors of the National Security Council on Ukraine, evidence that seems to tie more of a quid pro quo, that the president, that there is some evidence from these people who are working in the Trump administration that the president linked aid to Ukraine, a White House meeting with the Ukrainian president, to getting Oppo research on the Democrats. So what the Republicans are doing is they're arguing that the process is unfair. You can make that argument, but I mean, if you look back during Benghazi, when that was being investigated by Trey Gowdy, they had hearings in private and, you know, depositions in private. You try to build your case, figure out who are the witnesses that can say something, who can't, and then you're going to end up holding public hearings anyway. I mean, there's not a chance in the world that they're not going to bring the key witnesses up to be questioned by both Republicans and Democrats.
This is Fox News' Chris Wallace calling out Kellyanne Conway, who, because the facts aren't on her side, is purposefully muddying the waters by complaining about the process of impeachment. She goes on to mislead viewers by decrying the idea that there's no due process, that the right can't cross-examine witnesses and present evidence. But here's the thing. This isn't the trial. The trial happens in the Senate after Trump is impeached in the House. The process happening right now is for the prosecution to interview witnesses and gather facts, which is never done in public. Just like it wasn't done for Clinton or Nixon or any grand jury trial. And Kellyanne Conway obviously knows this, but it's more important for her to treat Americans like they're idiots and suggest that this is some unprecedented sham investigation. It's not, and the only sham here is giving oxygen to these BS talking points. Also, if these arguments seem especially pathetic and petty, it's because that's all the right has left. Seriously, over the last few months, Republicans have dispatched every possible excuse they could conjure up to defend themselves, only to have it immediately blow up in their faces. Republicans said that the whistleblower is a partisan and can't be trusted, despite the fact that not only do we not know their identity, but everything in the complaint has been proven 100% true. Republicans said the whistleblower isn't allowed to rely on secondhand information, even though it's perfectly acceptable and legal to do so. Republicans said that Adam Schiff personally counseled the whistleblower, even though it was a staff member of his who correctly advised the whistleblower to seek legal counsel and file a complaint with the Intel Community Inspector General. Republicans said the whole impeachment process is unconstitutional, even though it is in the Constitution. They said there was no quid pro quo, only to have everyone from the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor, to Trump's own chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, confirm that there was indeed a quid pro quo. And this week, we've landed on complaining that Democrats are holding secret impeachment hearings in the basement of the Capitol to unilaterally reverse the outcome of the 2016 election and have Trump removed from office. And not only is that not true, but Democrats are following Republican rules. They were enacted in January of 2015 by the Republican majority during the Tea Party era in Congress, when the GOP gave unilateral subpoena power to all 14 committee chairs and permission to take closed-door depositions. They were signed by then Speaker of the House John Boehner. So if Republicans suddenly have some major issues with these rules, they might want to point fingers at Republicans. And these rules aren't even a secret. Here's Republican Trey Gowdy, the former House Oversight Chairman, praising closed-door interviews.
Our private hearing was much more constructive than the public hearing. I mean, public hearings are a circus, Margaret. I mean, that's why I don't like to do them. I don't do many of them. I mean, it's a freak show. I mean, the private interviews are much more constructive.
Or consider the final report from the Republican-led Benghazi Select Committee, which went into great detail about why closed-door interviews were better, stating, the committee's preference for private interviews over public hearings has been questioned. Interviews are a more efficient and effective means of discovery. Interviews allow witnesses to be questioned in depth by a highly prepared member or staff person. In a hearing, every member of a committee is recognized, usually for 5 minutes, a procedure which precludes in-depth, focused questioning. Interviews also allowed the committee to safeguard the privacy of witnesses who may fear retaliation for cooperating or whose work requires anonymity, such as intelligence community operatives. But again, to even humor these White House talking points is giving too much credit to what are clearly bad faith attacks. And they know that they're BS. But when the facts surrounding this case are so cut and dry that Trump used his public office for personal gain, that he committed impeachable offenses and then desperately tried to cover it up, then it's no surprise that Republicans are forced to start parroting lies to protect their leader. Of course, the other option is to actually put country over party and not protect a criminal for once, but it doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon.